This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Brueski.
We're talking with Scott Roder of Evidence Room and the podcast Crime Scene Time Machine. Scott, I want to talk to you and get your reaction as to what's going on here with the Lori Vallow Daybell case. As of our recording of this, the prosecution has rested. The defense has said, we ain't gonna do anything. We don't think you presented a strong enough case. And jury instruction is about to be given. Again, that's as of this recording. There may be some new developments between now and then. It isn't very long, but it's a fast-moving case. Scott, what is your reaction to this? The fact that the defense of Lori Vallow is resting right away, saying, we're good.
Well, I think it comes down to, throwing good after bad, in that I think if they do present evidence, it just gives the prosecution more to put their teeth into. And honestly, this is a indirect evidence case. This is a case of circumstantial evidence for the most part. We do have forensics and identification, hair, latent fingerprints, DNA, but a lot of that, honestly, in and of itself, and I think we talked about this before in a previous episode, although it's incriminating, it's not in and of itself indication of guilt, because this was the mother. You would expect the mother's hair and prints and so on to be on all things related to the children. It's just the manner that they were found in connection with the totality of the evidence that makes it, I think, overwhelming from a circumstantial guilt standpoint. And that's all the prosecution needs on this case to get a conviction. Now, if they put, for example, Lori Daybell on the stand, they would rip her to shreds. So I think that it's a good legal maneuver to not put her on the stand. But I think that they're just hoping that they did a good enough job on their cross-examination of the evidence, and they're just going to leave well enough alone and hope for the best, because they really don't have much of a defense, and that's why they didn't put one up.
Which, I think anybody would look at that and go, yeah, I agree. But to a certain extent, I don't know. I've talked to several attorneys that, although say this would be very difficult to defend, nearly impossible, but there are a couple inroads, like maybe focusing more on the mental health aspect of things. One of our regular guests, Alexandra Kazarian with the Garagos and Garagos, has pointed out, yes, there is no insanity defense in Idaho. However, you could present one, and it could be looked at in a certain way that this individual is not all there. So she would have to be found innocent, because you could, in some ways, if you really, really pulled it off right, you could show that this person maybe had no knowledge that she was talking about human beings when she was talking about murdering these people. It would be a tough one. Yeah, it would be a stretch, but it would be a defense.
Well, here, first thing I'm going to say, anybody from the Garagos law firm is a top-notch person in my book. I've done work with that law firm, and I know that they are the smartest legal minds when it comes to criminal defense, probably in all of America, top 5 in my book, right next to Barry Scheck and some other folks. So duly noted. However, the judge might bar those kinds of arguments as saying, hey, it looks like you're going down an affirmative defense for mental illness and could prevent them from doing it. Or it could, as lawyers love to say, open the door to a whole different line of questioning, because you could make the comparison just to be, counterpoint in good faith to my learned friend over there,
Sure.
would be if you open up the door saying, well, she didn't know that this was a person. She really believed it was a demon or a zombie or whatnot. And then you could very easily, I think, on cross-examine, well, you don't know the difference between a human and a zombie, but you do know how to cash a Social Security check.
Mm-hmm.
You do know how to buy an airplane ticket and go to Hawaii.
Well, and that's,
you do know
yeah,
how to live your life without. You know what I mean?
That's
it
the
could
sort of
open
thing.
up all of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
It would be a very, very tricky one to do. She made her point very well. And that is, I think she's arguing it again here on the air the next day or so. But it's a valid point. But you're exactly right. There's too many holes I think could be plugged into it that a jury's going to go, yeah, how do you not understand these are human beings when you can do all of those sort of things, which she clearly could do,
right?
So,
yeah,
I mean,
listen, you asked her for an argument. She gave you an argument.
Yep.
If that was her client, I bet you she wouldn't put up much of a defense.
Sure. Well, at this point, yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know what on earth you do. My only concern with this is that it raises a question of, did she have adequate defense? If they're not putting up anything, or, is this the smartest move? Honestly, it probably is the smartest move, but the fact that they're not going to do anything, but they did consult with her. They did sit down and say, hey, do you want to take the stand? Do you want to do anything? And she agreed this is the path they want to take. So she is participating in her own defense.
Honestly, Tony, the defense lawyers for Lori Vallow Daybell, they did their job and showed their competency when they got the death penalty taken off the table.
Sure.
That's where they succeeded as criminal defense lawyers.
Yep.
And anything beyond that, as we like to say, is gravy.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers
The
Podcast
Hidden Killers Podcast.
with Tony Brueski.
Such a fascinating story as it continues to unravel. We'll continue to cover it for you right here. And of course, we'll have live verdict coverage for you, as that will actually be streamed out of the courthouse. We'll have it for you here right away when that takes place in the coming weeks, I'm assuming. Days? We'll find out very soon. Press subscribe so you don't miss any of it, and you can get an ad-free experience through Apple Podcasts when you sign up there. I'm Tony Brueski. Stay with us.